General Harrison Webb arrived at Concordia Prime 6 hours later aboard the Earth battleship Washington, the most powerful warship in the human fleet. He came expecting to find the Shadow Division in custody for war crimes, and instead walked into the biggest political crisis in Federation history. Webb was a tall man with gray hair and cold blue eyes that had seen decades of military service. He wore his dress uniform with perfect precision, every medal and ribbon in exactly the right place. As he entered the council hall, he projected the confidence of a man who believed he was completely in control of the situation. "Council members," he said as he took his position at the speaker's platform, "I apologize for the actions of the rogue unit under my command. Colonel Morrison and his team clearly exceeded their authority and should be punished accordingly." Chancellor Vex studied the human general with his black Altaran eyes. "General Webb, before we discuss punishment, we need to discuss the intelligence, reports that were provided to the Shadow Division. Standard military intelligence, gathered during active combat operations," Webb replied smoothly. "Unfortunately, it appears the information was outdated by the time Colonel Morrison's team reached their target area." Jake Morrison stood up from his seat in the defendant's section. "That's a lie, General, and you know it." Webb turned to look at his former protege with an expression of disappointed authority. "Colonel Morrison, you are out of line. You will remain silent while the adults handle this situation." "No," Jake said firmly. "I won't remain silent while you try to cover up your war crimes." Nina Walsh activated her computer system, filling the hall with holographic displays of the intelligence metadata. "General Webb, these files show that the intelligence reports were created months after the Shadow Division left Earth. The timestamps have been falsified, but the underlying data structure reveals when they were actually made." Webb's confident expression flickered for just a moment. "Technical speculation from a subordinate officer. Hardly admissible evidence." "Then perhaps you'd like to explain these," Captain Lisa Brooks said, standing up and activating her own data displays. The communication logs she had discovered showed clearly that Webb had known about the planned genocide. The hall went silent as council members read the messages. Webb's own words, discussing the elimination of potential future threats among the Zephyrian population. Plans to use the Shadow Division as an untraceable asset for post-war cleanup operations. War Queen Zathra rose from her seat, her massive form casting shadows across the hall. "General Webb, these communications show that you plan to use human soldiers to murder Zephyrian civilians after the war had ended. How do you explain this?" Webb's mask of control finally slipped. "Your Majesty, you must understand the strategic situation. The Zephyrian Empire was defeated, but not destroyed. Given time, you could rebuild and threaten the Federation again. The Shadow Division was sent to prevent that possibility." The admission sent shock waves through the hall. Several alien council members began talking rapidly among themselves, while others simply stared at Webb in horror. "So you admit it," Chancellor Vex said quietly. "You sent human soldiers to commit genocide against a defeated enemy." "I sent soldiers to eliminate a future threat," Webb corrected. "The methods were perhaps harsh, but necessary for long-term peace. Jake stepped forward, his hands clenched into fists. "General, you sent us to murder children. We found kids in those facilities, playing while their parents tried to rebuild their civilization. You wanted us to kill them all. Casualties of war, Colonel. Sometimes hard decisions must be made." Amy Rodriguez stood up beside Jake. "We're soldiers, not executioners. We swore an oath to protect innocent people, not slaughter them." "Chris," Palmer added his voice, "the war was over, General. The Zephyrians had surrendered completely. What you planned wasn't military strategy, it was genocide." Nina Walsh's fingers flew over her keyboard as she accessed more files. "General, I'm also finding evidence that you planned to abandon the Shadow Division after they completed their mission. You never intended for us to return to Federation space." Webb shrugged. "Expendable assets serve their purpose and are discarded. That's how military operations work." The cold admission finally broke something in Jake Morrison. 20 years of military service, 20 years of following orders and trusting his superiors, and now he learned that his own commander had planned to use him as a weapon of genocide and then abandon him to die. "You bastard," Jake said, taking a step toward Webb. "We trusted you. We followed you across the galaxy because we believed you were sending us to protect humanity." Federation security guards moved to restrain Jake, but War Queen Zathra's voice stopped them. "Let him speak. I want to hear what these human soldiers have to say." Jake looked around the hall at the faces watching him. Aliens who had fought against humanity for years, now listening to learn what humans were really like when their leaders stripped away all pretense. "We are not General Webb," Jake said clearly. "When we discovered that our targets were civilian facilities, we chose not to attack them. When we learned that our intelligence was false, we chose to investigate rather than kill blindly. When we realized that our own command had betrayed us, we chose to tell the truth rather than cover it up." Amy stepped up beside him. "The Shadow Division was created to be humanity's ultimate weapon, but we refuse to be anyone's tool for genocide." Chris nodded agreement. "We're soldiers, but we're also human beings. We have consciences, and we chose to follow them instead of following orders." Nina added, "We could have destroyed those facilities and killed thousands of innocent people. Instead, we gathered evidence and chose to expose the truth." War Queen Zathra looked at the four humans standing together in defiance of their own command structure. These were the same soldiers who had terrorized Zephyrian forces during the war, the most dangerous fighters humanity had ever produced. But now they stood before her speaking of conscience and mercy. "General Webb," she said, turning back to the human commander, "you sent these soldiers to murder my people, but they chose honor over orders, mercy over duty. They are better humans than you are." Chancellor Vex stood up to address the full council. "General Harrison Webb, you are hereby stripped of all authority and will be held for trial on charges of conspiracy to commit genocide. The Shadow Division, having refused to participate in war crimes and having exposed this conspiracy, is hereby granted full pardons for any actions taken during their mission." Webb's face went red with anger. "You can't do this. I am a general in the Earth Defense Forces." "Not anymore," Admiral Kane said, standing up in the Federation military section. "As of this moment, You are relieved of all command and expelled from Federation service." War Queen Zathra stepped down from her platform and walked over to where Jake and his team stood. The massive insectoid warrior looked down at the 4 humans who had refused to become genocidal weapons. "Colonel Morrison," she said, "you and your soldiers chose mercy when you could have chosen murder. You chose truth when you could have chosen lies. On behalf of the Zephyrian people, I thank you." She extended one of her 4 arms toward Jake. After a moment's hesitation, he reached out and shook her clawed hand. "Your Majesty," Jake said, "we're sorry for the pain our species has caused yours. You are not responsible for the actions of General Webb," Zathra replied. "You are only responsible for your own choices, and you chose well." Chancellor Vex called for order in the hall. "This council hereby establishes new protocols for human military operations within Federation space. The Shadow Division will be granted autonomous status, operating under Federation oversight but independent of Earth Command. Furthermore," he continued, "Captain Lisa Brooks is promoted to Admiral and given command of a new human fleet that will operate as an equal partner within the Federation structure." Lisa stood up, looking stunned by the promotion. "Chancellor, I'm honored, but—" "Admiral Brooks," Vex interrupted, "you chose to disobey orders from your own command in order to save the lives of your fellow humans and prevent a diplomatic crisis. The Federation needs more officers who put conscience above convenience." As the session ended, Jake Morrison looked around the hall one more time. The war that had torn the galaxy apart was truly over now, but something new was beginning. Humanity had proven that they could be trusted with power because they had chosen not to abuse it. Outside the station, the Zephyrian fleet began to withdraw, no longer seeing the Federation as a threat. War Queen Zathra had found allies she could. Respect among the humans, soldiers who chose honor over orders. The Shadow Division would continue to serve, but now they served ideals rather than commanders who might betray those ideals. They had arrived at the end of a war, believing they were humanity's last hope for survival. Instead, they had become humanity's first representatives in a galaxy that was learning to trust them. The war had ended months ago with the signing of treaties and the surrender of armies. But it truly ended now, with 4 soldiers choosing mercy over murder and proving that some things were more important than following orders. Jake Morrison and his team had been sent to finish a war with genocide. Instead, they had ended it with honor. Captain Jake Morrison stared at the broken ship floating in space. His crew had been exploring the Kepler system for 3 months now, looking for new planets that humans could live on. They had found nothing but rocks and gas until today. The ship in front of them looked nothing like any human vessel. It was long and thin, made of some kind of silver metal that seemed to glow with its own light. But it was clearly damaged. Pieces of it were missing, and Jake could see holes in the sides where something had torn through. "Captain, I'm picking up a weak signal from inside," said Officer Nancy Price from her station. She was the ship's communication expert, and her voice sounded worried. "It's not in any language our computers know." Jake looked at the strange vessel through the main screen. His ship, the Aurora, was a good exploration ship, but it was small. Only 12 people worked on it, and they were far from Earth. If something went wrong out here, help would not come quickly. Any signs of weapons? Jake asked his security officer, Lieutenant Ben Carter. Ben checked his instruments carefully. No, sir. The ship looks dead in the water. Whatever hit it really did some damage. Jake made his choice. Nancy, try to answer their signal. Let them know we're here to help. The crew looked at each other. First Officer Linda Shaw stepped closer to Jake. Sir, are you sure about this? We don't know anything about these beings. They could be dangerous. Jake nodded. He understood her. Worry. This would be the first time humans had met aliens who were still alive. They had found old ruins on dead planets before, but never living beings from another world. I know the risks, Linda, but look at that ship. Whoever is inside is probably dying. We can't just leave them. Nancy worked at her station, trying different signals. After 10 minutes, she looked up with excitement. Captain, I got something. The computer is starting to understand their language. It's very basic, but they're asking for help. Jake felt his heart beat faster. Real aliens, talking to them, asking for help. This would change everything for humanity. Can you tell them we want to help? He asked. Nancy typed quickly. I'm trying, sir. The translation is rough, but I think they understand. On the main screen, they watched as a small door opened on the side of the alien ship. A figure appeared, moving very slowly. It was clearly not human. The being was tall and thin, much thinner than any human. Its arms and legs were like sticks, and its head was large and round. Its skin looked pale, almost white, and it seemed to shine slightly like the ship. It's hurt, said Dr. Carol Foster, the ship's doctor. She was looking at the alien through her medical scanner. Heart rate is very weak, and I'm seeing signs of serious injury. The alien was trying to wave at them, but its movements were weak and shaky. Jake made another quick decision. Linda, take a team over there. Bring the alien back to our ship. Carol, get the medical bay ready. Linda looked surprised. Sir, bringing an unknown alien onto our ship could be very dangerous. We don't know what diseases they might carry or if they're friendly. Look at it, Linda. That being is dying. We're going to help. Dr. Foster nodded. I'll set up a quarantine area in medical. We can keep it safe from our germs and keep us safe from its germs. 20 minutes later, Linda and 2 other crew members returned with the alien. It was unconscious now, and they had to carry it on a stretcher. Up close, Jake could see that it was even more fragile than it had looked on the screen. Its bones seemed thin as glass, and its skin was almost see-through. Get it to medical now, Jake ordered. Dr. Foster worked for hours trying to save the alien's life. The being's body was very different from human bodies, but some things were the same. It had a heart, lungs, and blood, though the blood was blue instead of red. I think it's going to make it, Dr. Foster finally announced. But it was close. Whatever attacked their ship left this one badly hurt. The alien woke up 2 days later. Its eyes were large and bright, like looking into deep water. When it saw Jake standing next to the medical bed, it tried to sit up. Easy there, Jake said softly, holding up his hands to show he meant no harm. You're safe now. Nancy had worked day and night to improve the translation system. Now the aliens. Words came through the speakers as rough English. You saved me, the alien said slowly. Its voice was like music, high and clear. Why? Jake smiled. Because you needed help. My name is Jake Morrison. What's your name? The alien looked confused for a moment. I am called Zix. I do not understand. You do not know me. Your kind and my kind have never met. Why did you risk your safety for me? Jake sat down in the chair next to the bed. Because it was the right thing to do. Where I come from, we believe in helping others when they're in trouble. Zix stared at Jake for a long time. My people, we have traveled among the stars for thousands of your years. We have met many kinds of beings. Most ignore others in need. Many take advantage of weakness. You are the first to help a stranger with no reward. Over the next few days, Zix told Jake about his people, the Viridians. They lived on a beautiful planet where crystal cities reached toward the sky. They were peaceful beings who spent their time learning and creating art. They had never known war or violence. We were exploring like you, Zix explained. Pirates attacked our ship. They wanted our technology. My crew. They did not survive. Jake felt sad for Zix's loss. I'm sorry about your friends. You gave me my life back, Zix said. My people must know about this, about humans who save strangers. This is not common in the galaxy. When Zix was strong enough to travel, Jake's crew helped fix his ship's basic systems. Before he left, Zix grasped Jake's hand with his thin fingers. Captain Jake Morrison of Earth, I make you a promise. The Viridian people will never forget what you have done. If your kind ever needs our help, we will be there. Jake watched as Zix's ship disappeared into the stars, not knowing that this one act of kindness would change the future of both their species forever. 2 years had passed since Captain Jake Morrison saved the alien named Zix. The news of first contact with an alien species had spread across Earth like wildfire. Every person on the planet knew about the Viridians now, and everyone wanted to know more. Ambassador Lisa Carter stood in the shuttle bay of the diplomatic ship Unity, checking her uniform one more time. She was about to become the first human ambassador to visit an alien world. The weight of representing all of humanity made her nervous, but she tried not to show it. Are you ready, Ambassador? Asked Captain Paul Davis, the ship's commander. He was a steady man who had volunteered for this historic mission. Lisa nodded. As ready as anyone can be for something like this. Have you heard anything from the Viridian ships? They're waiting for us at the edge of their system, Paul replied. 3 ships, all peaceful. They've been sending welcome messages since we arrived. The journey to Viridia Prime took 12 hours. During that time, Lisa studied everything they knew about Viridian culture. It wasn't much, but Zix had shared some basic information before he left Earth's space 2 years ago. The Viridians were an old race, much older than humans. They had been traveling between stars when humans were still learning to make fire, but they had always been peaceful. They spent their time on art, science, and philosophy. They had no armies, no weapons, and no experience with war. When the Unity finally reached Viridia Prime, Lisa gasped at what she saw through the viewing window. The planet was beautiful beyond anything she had imagined. The surface glowed with soft blue and green lights. Crystal spires reached up from the ground like frozen lightning, and she could see cities that looked like they were made of pure light. Incoming. "Message," said Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez, the communication officer. "It's from the planet." The main screen lit up, and Lisa saw Zix's familiar face. The Viridian looked exactly as Jake Morrison had described him, thin and pale with large, bright eyes. "Welcome, humans of Earth," Zix said, his musical voice coming through the translation system. "I am honored to see you again. Please, follow our ships to the landing platform." 3 Viridian vessels appeared around the Unity. They were beautiful. Ships, looking more like works of art than spacecraft. They glowed with the same soft light as the planet below. The landing platform was enormous, made of what looked like blue crystal. As Lisa stepped off the shuttle, she felt the warm air of the alien world on her face. It smelled like flowers and rain. Hundreds of Viridians waited to greet them. They were all tall and thin like Zix, with skin that seemed to glow in the planet's light. They stood in perfect lines, and as Lisa walked past them, they bowed their heads in respect. "This is amazing," whispered Dr. Frank Miller, the team's scientist. "Look at their architecture. Those buildings must be 1,000 feet tall, but they look like they're floating." Zix walked forward to meet Lisa personally. Behind him came other Viridians wearing robes that sparkled like starlight. Lisa guessed these were important leaders. "Ambassador Lisa Carter of Earth," Zix said formally, "I present you to the High Council of Viridia Prime. We welcome you with the greatest honor our people can give." An elderly Viridian stepped forward. Her robe was silver and seemed to move like liquid. "I am Council Elder Vera," she said. "We have waited long to meet the people who saved our Zix." Lisa smiled and bowed slightly, as her diplomatic training had taught her. "The honor is ours, Elder Vera. We come in peace, hoping to build friendship between our peoples." "Friendship," Elder Vera repeated the word slowly. "Yes, we hope for this too, but first you must understand something. What Captain Morrison did for Zix was more than rescue. It was a gift beyond measure. The Viridians led the human delegation into their city. The buildings were even more beautiful up close. They seemed to be grown rather than built, like crystal trees reaching for the sky. Inside, everything glowed with soft light that came from the walls themselves. They gathered in a great hall where thousands of Viridians waited. The ceiling was so high that Lisa could barely see it, and it was covered with moving patterns of light that looked like stars. Elder Vera stood before the crowd and began to speak. 2 of your years ago, our explorer Zix was dying in the cold of space. Pirates had attacked his ship and killed his crew. He waited for death, alone and far from home. The crowd listened in complete silence. Lisa could see that this story meant something very important to them. Then came a human ship, Elder Vera continued. The humans did not know Zix. They had never seen our kind before. They gained nothing by helping him. Yet Captain Jake Morrison risked his ship and crew to save a stranger's life. Zix stepped forward. In all our thousands of years among the stars, we have never seen such kindness from strangers. Most beings ignore those in need. Others help only if they get something in return. Humans helped because it was right. Elder Vera raised her hand, and the entire crowd of Viridians bowed toward Lisa and her team. Because of this act, we declare humans to be our eternal guardians. We offer you our friendship, our knowledge, and our trust. Lisa felt overwhelmed. Elder Vera, we are honored by your words. But what does it mean to be your eternal guardians? It means, said another council member, that we consider humans to be our protectors. In our culture, this is the highest honor we can give. Dr. Miller leaned close to Lisa. Ambassador, I think they're offering us some kind of alliance. Elder. Vera seemed to hear him. More than alliance, human scientist. We offer you our technology, our wisdom, everything we have learned in our long history. In return, we ask only for your friendship and protection. Lisa was careful with her words. We would be honored to be your friends. But protection from what? Zix's expression became sad. The galaxy is not a safe place, Ambassador Carter. There are many who would take our peaceful nature as weakness. Pirates destroyed my ship and killed my crew. There are worse things in the dark between stars. Over the next 3 days, the Viridians showed the human delegation wonders beyond imagination. They had technology that could heal any injury in minutes. Their computers could think almost like living beings. Their ships could travel between stars faster than anything humans had ever built. But Lisa began to understand the problem. The Viridians had no weapons. Their ships had no shields or armor. Their cities had no defenses. They had spent so long in peace that they had forgotten how to protect themselves. On the final day, Elder Vera took Lisa to the top of the tallest crystal spire in the city. From there, they could see the entire planet spread out below them. Beautiful. Isn't it? Elder Vera said. We have kept our world like this for 10,000 years. No war, no violence, no fear. Lisa nodded. It's the most beautiful place I've ever seen. But beauty attracts predators, Elder Vera said sadly. Word of our wealth and weakness spreads. Soon, others will come who are not as kind as humans. Lisa understood now. The Viridians were offering humanity their advanced technology in exchange for protection. They had seen human kindness and decided to trust their entire civilization to Earth's care. Elder Vera, Lisa said carefully, if Earth accepts this responsibility, we will protect your people with our lives. But you must understand, humans are not perfect. We have wars on our own world. We make mistakes. Elder Vera smiled, and her eyes seemed to glow brighter. We know this, Ambassador Carter. We have studied your species since Zix returned. You fight each other, yes, but you also save strangers in space. You help those who cannot help themselves. This is why we choose you. When the Unity returned to Earth, Lisa carried with her a formal treaty of alliance. The Viridian Collective would share their technology with humanity. In return, Earth would become the official protectors of Viridia Prime, and all Viridian worlds. The vote in the Global Council was unanimous. Humanity accepted its new role as guardians of an alien civilization, all because one ship captain had chosen to save a dying stranger in the darkness of space. Dr. Kevin Walsh stepped off the transport ship onto the crystal platform of Viridia Prime. He had been studying alien life for 20 years, but nothing had prepared him for this. The air itself seemed to sparkle, and the buildings around him looked like they had grown from the ground like enormous flowers. Kevin was Earth's top expert on alien life forms. The Global Council had sent him to learn everything he could about Viridian society. If humans were going to protect these people, they needed to understand exactly what they were protecting. Zix met Kevin at the landing platform. The Viridian looked happy to see another human friend. "Dr. Walsh, welcome to our world. I am excited to show you how we live." Kevin smiled back. "Thank you, Zix. I'm here to learn everything I can about your people." "Then come," Zix said, gesturing toward the Crystal City. "Let me show you the heart of our civilization." They walked through streets that were more like gardens. Plants with leaves of silver and gold grew between the crystal buildings. Viridians moved slowly and peacefully along the paths, stopping often to talk with friends or admire the beautiful surroundings. "How many people live in this city?" Kevin asked. "About 2 million, Zix replied. "But we do not think of ourselves as living in the city. We think of ourselves as part of it. Everything here grows together." Kevin watched the Viridians as they passed. He noticed something strange. There were no guards, no police, no security of any kind. There were also no locks on doors, no fences around buildings, no barriers anywhere. "Zix," Kevin said slowly. "Where are your protectors? Your security forces?" Zix looked confused. "Security forces? I do not understand this term." "People who keep others safe, who stop bad people from doing bad things." Zix stopped walking and stared at Kevin. "Bad people? Dr. Walsh, I think the translation system is not working correctly. What do you mean by bad people?" Kevin felt a chill run down his spine. "People who hurt others, who steal things, who break the law." "Hurt others?" Zix's voice was full of confusion. "Why would anyone hurt another being? And what is steal? What is law?" It took Kevin 3 hours to explain the concepts of crime, violence, and law enforcement to Zix. The Viridian listened with growing horror as Kevin described wars, theft, murder, and all the dark parts of life that humans took for granted. "This is terrible," Zix finally said. "How do your people live with such fear?" "We've learned to deal with it," Kevin explained. "We have police to catch criminals. We have armies to protect our countries. We have laws to tell people what they can and cannot do." "But why do people want to hurt others in the first place?" Kevin thought about how to answer. "Sometimes people want things that belong to others. Sometimes they're angry or afraid. Sometimes they just enjoy causing pain." Zix was quiet for a long time. When he spoke again, his voice was very soft. "Dr. Walsh, I begin to understand why our council chose humans as our guardians. You know about evil because you fight it every day. Over the next week, Kevin learned the truth about Viridian society. They had no concept of individual ownership. Everything belonged to everyone. They had no government as humans understood. Just councils of elders who helped solve problems through discussion and agreement. Most shocking of all, they had no military. Not just no army, but no weapons of any kind. The very idea of deliberately hurting another living being was so foreign to them that they couldn't even imagine it. "How have you survived for so long?" Kevin asked Elder Vera during one of their meetings. "We were fortunate," she replied. "For most of our history, we lived alone in our part of the galaxy. When we began traveling to other stars, we were careful to avoid contact with aggressive species. But that's changing now, isn't it?" Elder Vera's glow dimmed slightly. "Yes. Word of our wealth has spread. We possess quantum crystals that are very rare and valuable. These crystals power all our technology." Kevin had seen the quantum crystals. They were beautiful stones that seemed to contain tiny stars. The Viridians had mines full of them, enough to power their civilization for millions of years. "Other species want these crystals," Elder Vera continued. "They send messages demanding we trade with them. Some threaten to take the crystals by force if we refuse. And you have no way to defend yourselves?" "None. We never learned to fight because we never needed to. Violence is not in our nature." Dr. Kevin Walsh spent his last day on Viridia Prime visiting their centers of learning. The Viridians were incredibly intelligent. Their libraries contained knowledge gathered over thousands of years. Their scientists had discovered secrets of the universe that humans were just beginning to understand. But in all their vast knowledge, there was nothing about warfare, weapons, or military strategy. It was like they had a huge gap in their understanding of the universe. "It's amazing," Kevin told Zix as they stood in the great library. "Your people have mapped the entire galaxy, but you don't know how to build a simple gun." "We see no need for such things," Zix replied. "What good is a device made only to cause harm?" "Protection," Kevin said. "Sometimes you have to fight to protect the things you love." When Kevin returned to Earth, he went straight to the Global Council with his report. The council chamber was packed with representatives from every nation on Earth. President Helen Martinez, who led the council, called for silence as Kevin began to speak. "Ladies and gentlemen," Kevin said, "the Viridians are exactly what they appear to be. They are a peaceful, highly advanced civilization with no ability to defend themselves. They have never known war, violence, or crime of any kind." Murmurs filled the chamber. Representative Carlos Mendez from South America raised his hand. "Dr. Walsh, how is that possible? Every species we know has some form of conflict." "Not the Viridians," Kevin replied. "They evolved differently than us. Competition and aggression simply aren't part of their nature. But this makes them incredibly vulnerable." President Martinez leaned forward. "How vulnerable?" Kevin pulled up a holographic display showing the Viridian star system. "They have 17 worlds, all rich in quantum crystals and other valuable resources. None of these worlds have any defenses. A single military ship could conquer their entire civilization." The chamber erupted in shocked voices. Representative Liu Wei from Asia stood up. Are you saying they're completely helpless? Completely, Kevin confirmed. They're like children who have never learned that monsters exist. And now the monsters are coming. Kevin showed them intelligence reports that Earth's spy satellites had intercepted. Several aggressive alien species were already planning raids on Viridian worlds. Pirates, slavers, and conquerors were all looking at the peaceful crystal cities and seeing easy targets. Without our protection, Kevin concluded, the Viridian civilization will be destroyed within a year, possibly within months. General Patricia Williams, head of Earth's military forces, stood up. Dr. Walsh, what exactly are we talking about? Here? How many ships would we need to protect 17 worlds? Kevin displayed another chart. At minimum, we'd need to establish permanent bases in the Viridian system. We'd need patrol ships, defense platforms, and rapid response teams. We're talking about deploying most of our space fleet. That's a huge commitment, said Representative Johnson from North America. Are we sure the Viridians are worth such a risk? Kevin smiled. Representative Johnson, the Viridians have technology that's centuries ahead of ours. Their quantum crystals alone could revolutionize human civilization. Their medical knowledge could eliminate disease. Their computers could solve problems we can't even imagine. But more than that, Kevin continued, they trust us. They've placed the fate of their entire species in our hands because one human ship captain showed kindness to a stranger. If we betray that trust, what does that say about humanity? President Martinez called for a vote. The question was simple. Would Earth accept full responsibility for protecting the Viridian collective? The vote was closer than the first one had been. Some representatives worried about the cost and danger. Others questioned whether humans should involve themselves in alien conflicts. But in the end, humanity chose to honor its promise. The vote passed by a wide margin. As Kevin left the council chamber, he thought about what they had just committed to. Earth was about to become the guardian of an entire alien civilization. They would be responsible for protecting worlds full of beings who had never known violence, who trusted humans completely to keep them safe. It was a huge responsibility. But as Kevin remembered the crystal cities and the gentle faces of the Viridians, he knew it was the right choice. Some things were worth protecting, even if it meant putting human lives at risk. Admiral Ryan Clark stood on the bridge of the battleship Defender, watching as his fleet took position around Viridia Prime. 24 human warships now formed a protective ring around the crystal world. It was the largest military force Earth had ever sent to another star system. Ryan had been chosen to lead the Guardian fleet because of his experience in deep space operations. He was a careful man who planned for every possible threat. But even he had never imagined commanding a fleet whose job was to protect an entire alien civilization. Admiral, called Captain Susan Martinez from the communications station, we're receiving a message from Viridia Prime. Elder Vera wants to speak with you. Ryan nodded. Put her through. The main screen lit up with Elder Vera's familiar face. Her skin seemed to glow more brightly than usual, and Ryan could see joy in her large eyes. Admiral Clark, she said in her musical voice, your fleet is the most beautiful sight we have ever seen. Not because of your weapons, but because of what you represent. Safety, protection, peace of mind. "We're honored to be here, Elder Vera," Ryan replied. "The Guardian fleet will make sure no harm comes to your people." "We know you will," Elder Vera said. "And in return, we want to share something special with you." An hour later, Ryan found himself on the surface of Viridia Prime, standing in a laboratory that looked like it was made of pure light. Viridian scientists moved around him like dancers, their thin forms graceful and quick. "This is our newest creation," said Zix, who had become the main contact between humans and Viridians. He gestured to a sleek ship that hovered above the crystal floor. "We call it a Unity vessel." Ryan stared at the ship in amazement. It was unlike anything he had ever seen. The hull seemed to be made of the same quantum crystal as Viridian buildings, but it also had the solid look of human military engineering. "It's beautiful," Ryan said, "but what makes it special?" Engineer Sophie Kim, who had come down from the fleet to see Viridian technology, was already running her scanner over the ship. "Admiral, the readings I'm getting are incredible. This thing has Viridian crystal technology built into human ship designs." Zix smiled. "Exactly. We took your ship designs and improved them with our knowledge. The result is faster, stronger, and more efficient than either of our technologies alone." Sophie climbed inside the ship and called out in excitement. "Admiral, you need to see this. The power core is a quantum crystal matrix. It produces 10 times more energy than our best fusion reactors, and the computer system is partly biological, partly electronic." Ryan joined Sophie inside the Unity vessel. The control room looked familiar, like a human ship, but everything glowed with soft blue light. The chairs adjusted automatically to fit his body, and the controls responded to his thoughts as much as his touch. "How fast can it go?" Ryan asked. "From here to your Earth in 2 days," Zix replied. "Your fastest ships take 2 weeks." Ryan felt his heart race. Ships this fast could patrol the entire Viridian system in hours instead of days. They could respond to threats before enemies even knew they were coming. Over the next month, the Viridians built 50 Unity vessels for the Guardian fleet. Each ship was a perfect blend of human military knowledge and Viridian crystal technology. They were faster than anything in the galaxy, and their crystal hulls could absorb incredible amounts of damage. But the best part was how the two species learned to work together. Human crews operated the ships, but each vessel carried Viridian technical specialists. The humans provided military expertise and tactical knowledge. The Viridians provided advanced technology and peaceful wisdom. Captain Tony Rivera commanded the first Unity vessel to go on patrol. His ship, the Harmony, was testing the outer edge of the Viridian system when they detected something unusual. "Captain, I'm picking up 3 ships approaching from the dead zone," reported Lieutenant Rachel Green. "They're not broadcasting any identification signals." Tony studied the readings. The ships were small but heavily armed. They had the look of pirate vessels, the kind that raided peaceful worlds for easy profit. "Any response to our hail?" Tony asked. "Nothing, sir. They're ignoring us completely." The Viridian technical specialist, a gentle being named Cree, looked worried. "Captain Rivera, those ships carry weapons designed to break through crystal structures. They are here to attack our cities." Tony felt anger rise in his chest. These pirates thought they could just waltz into Viridian space and take whatever they wanted. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Rachel, charge weapons and raise shields. Send a message to those ships. Tell them they're entering protected. Space and need to leave immediately. The pirate ships responded by increasing speed and spreading out in attack formation. They clearly had no intention of leaving peacefully. "Sir," Rachel reported, "they're targeting our ship. Weapons are charging." "Then let's show them what a Unity vessel can do," Tony said grimly. "Fire warning shots across their bows." The Harmony's crystal-enhanced weapons fired bolts of pure energy that lit up space like lightning. The shots missed the pirate ships on purpose, but they were close enough to send a clear message. The pirates fired back, their weapons striking the Harmony's crystal hull. The ship barely shook. "Damage report," Tony called. "No damage, sir," Rachel replied with amazement. "Their weapons can't even scratch our hull." Cree looked relieved. "The quantum crystals absorb energy weapons very efficiently. Physical projectiles are more dangerous. But these pirates only have energy cannons." Tony smiled. "Then let's end this quickly. Target their engines only. We want to capture them, not destroy them." The Harmony moved like a dancer through space, too fast for the pirate ships to track properly. Within minutes, all three enemy vessels were disabled and drifting helplessly. When Tony's crew boarded the pirate ships, they found crews of reptilian, aliens who seemed shocked that anyone had bothered to defend the Viridians. "You cannot do this," hissed the pirate captain through the translation device. "The crystal people have no protectors. They are easy prey." "Not anymore," Tony replied. "The Viridians are under Earth's protection now. Spread the word to every pirate, raider, and scavenger in the galaxy. Attack Viridian worlds, and you answer to humanity." Word of the Harmony's victory spread quickly through the space lanes. Within weeks, Admiral Ryan Clark was receiving reports from all over the galaxy. Alien governments were asking questions about the new human presence in Viridian space. Some seemed curious, others worried, and a few appeared angry. "Admiral," reported Intelligence Officer Mark Thompson during a briefing, "we're intercepting increased communication traffic about us. Some alien species are calling humans the Crystal Guardians. Others are using less friendly terms." Ryan studied the intelligence reports. "Any immediate threats?" "Several pirate groups have given up plans to raid Viridian worlds," Mark continued. "But there are rumors of larger organizations planning to test our resolve." Elder Vera visited the Guardian fleet often, always amazed by how quickly humans and Viridians had learned to work together. During one visit, she spoke privately with Admiral Clark. "Your people are remarkable," she told him. "In just a few months, you have made our world safer than they have been in centuries." "It's our honor to protect you," Ryan replied. "But I have to ask, are you comfortable with having human warships around your peaceful worlds?" Elder Vera's glow brightened. "Admiral Clark, your ships do not make us feel threatened. They make us feel loved. You came from across the galaxy to protect strangers, asking nothing in return but friendship." "We're getting plenty in return," Ryan said honestly. "Your technology is advancing human civilization by centuries, and your protection is allowing us to live without fear for the first time in generations," Elder Vera replied. "This partnership benefits us both. As the months passed, the Guardian fleet grew stronger. More Unity vessels were built, combining the best of both civilizations. Human crews learned to appreciate Viridian wisdom and peaceful philosophy. Viridian specialists learned to admire human courage and tactical thinking. The partnership was working perfectly. Human military strength protected Viridian peaceful civilization, while Viridian technology made human ships and weapons far more powerful than they had ever been. But Admiral Ryan Clark knew this was just the beginning. Word was spreading through the galaxy about the strange alliance between warrior humans and peaceful Viridians. Some saw it as an inspiring example of cooperation. Others saw it as a challenge to their own power. Sooner or later, someone would test the Guardian fleet's strength with more than just a few pirate ships. When that day came, Ryan wanted to be ready. Captain Danny Foster stared at the scanner readings and felt his blood turn cold. 50 enemy ships had just appeared at the edge of the Viridian system, and they were heading straight for the Crystal Worlds. Danny commanded the destroyer Defiance, one of the newest Unity vessels in the Guardian fleet. His ship was fast and powerful, but it was also alone on patrol duty in the outer system. The rest of the fleet was 3 hours away at minimum. "Sir," called Lieutenant Gary Peters from the sensor station, "I'm reading massive energy signatures. These aren't pirates or raiders. This is a full military fleet." Danny studied the enemy formation on his main screen. The ships were dark and angular, built for war rather than beauty. They moved in perfect military precision, spreading out to surround the Viridian worlds from multiple directions. "Any response to our hails?" Danny asked. "Yes, sir," replied Communication Officer Kim Lopez. "They're broadcasting on all frequencies. The message is being translated now." The main screen flickered, and an alien face appeared. The being looked like a cross between a shark and a lizard, with cold black eyes and rows of sharp teeth. Its voice was harsh and threatening. "I am Warlord Krex of the Dominion Swarm," the alien announced. "The worlds of this system now belong to the Dominion. All inhabitants will surrender immediately or be destroyed." Danny felt anger building in his chest. "Kim, open a channel." The screen switched to show Danny's face, and he stared directly into Warlord Krex's cold eyes. "This is Captain Danny Foster of the Earth Guardian Fleet. You are entering protected space. Leave now or face the consequences." Krex laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "Earth? The small blue world at the edge of nowhere? We know about you. Humans. One pathetic species trying to protect another. You are outnumbered 50-1. "Numbers don't mean everything," Danny replied calmly. "You have one chance to leave peacefully." "Or what?" Krex sneered. "You will stop us with your single ship?" Danny smiled grimly. "If I have to." The communication ended, and Danny turned to his crew. They were all young officers, most of them on their first deep space assignment. But every face showed determination rather than fear. "Gary, how long until Admiral Clark arrives with the main fleet?" 3 hours, sir. Maybe longer." Danny looked at the tactical display. The Dominion ships would reach the first Viridian world in 90 minutes. There was no way the Guardian fleet could arrive in time to stop them. "Sir," said his tactical officer, Lieutenant Nina Ross, "we could fall back and wait for reinforcements." Danny shook his head. "And let them attack defenseless Viridian cities? No, we're going to hold them here." The bridge crew exchanged glances. Everyone understood what Danny was saying. He was ordering one ship to fight an entire fleet. It was brave, but it was also probably suicide. "You heard the captain," said Executive Officer Commander Lisa Park. "Battle stations! All hands prepare for combat!" The Defiance moved to intercept the Dominion fleet, its crystal hull glowing with energy. Danny had learned a lot about fighting in the past year of protecting Viridian space. The key was speed and unpredictability. "Nina, target the lead ship. Full power to forward weapons." The Defiance opened fire with crystal-enhanced weapons that turned space into a light show. The lead Dominion ship staggered under the impact, its shields flaring and failing. "Direct hit," Nina reported. "Enemy ship is disabled." But the other, Dominion ships were already responding. Energy bolts and missiles filled the space around the Defiance as 50 enemy vessels tried to destroy the single human ship. Danny piloted the Defiance like a fighter pilot, spinning and diving through the enemy formation. The ship's crystal technology made it incredibly fast and maneuverable. Most of the enemy fire missed completely. "Sir, incoming missiles," Gary called out. "Point defense, fire at will," Danny ordered. The Defiance's defensive systems shot down most of the missiles, but 3 got through. They exploded against the crystal hull in flowers of fire and energy. "Minor damage to outer hull sections," reported engineer Mike Chen. "Crystal matrix is holding." Danny swung the ship around and fired again, disabling another Dominion vessel. But there were still 48 enemy ships, and they were beginning to surround him. "Captain," Kim Lopez called urgently, "I'm receiving a transmission from Viridia Prime. Elder Vera wants to speak with you." "Put her through." Elder Vera's face appeared on a corner of the screen. She looked worried, but not afraid. "Captain Foster, we see the battle on our sensors. You are fighting alone against impossible odds." "It's my job to protect you," Danny replied, while dodging another missile barrage. "The main fleet will be here soon." "But you might not survive that long, Elder," Vera said softly. "Captain, we want you to know that if you die defending us, your sacrifice will be remembered forever." Danny felt a warm feeling in his chest despite the chaos around him. "I'm not planning to die today, Elder Vera. We're just getting started." Battle continued for another hour. The Defiance darted between enemy ships like a shark among whales, striking hard and fast before disappearing again. Danny's crew worked with perfect coordination, each person knowing exactly what to do. But the odds were slowly catching up with them. The Defiance had destroyed or disabled 15 enemy ships, but the remaining 35 were beginning to box them in. The ship's crystal hull was showing damage from repeated hits. "Sir," Gary reported, "enemy ships are breaking off from the main group. 10 vessels are heading for Viridia Prime." Danny's heart sank. He couldn't be everywhere at once. If he chased the ships heading for the planet, the rest of the fleet would destroy his ship. If he stayed to fight the main force, innocent Viridians would die. "All power to engines," he ordered. We're going after the ships heading for the planet. Sir, Lisa Park warned. If we leave the main battle, the rest of the Dominion fleet will follow us. We'll be trapped between two groups. Then we better fight fast, Danny replied. The Defiance raced toward Viridia Prime, chasing the 10 enemy ships that were intent on attacking the Crystal Cities. Danny knew he was flying into a trap, but he couldn't let the Viridians suffer while he was still able to fight. The 10 ships reached the planet and began firing at the beautiful crystal spires. Danny watched in horror as sections of the peaceful cities exploded in flames. Thousands of innocent Viridians were in danger. Nina, target the ships attacking the cities. Fire everything we have. The Defiance struck like lightning, destroying 3 enemy ships in rapid succession. But the other 7 continued their bombardment, and the main Dominion fleet was closing fast. Just when the situation seemed hopeless, Gary Peters shouted with excitement. Sir, new contacts on sensors. It's Admiral Clark with the main fleet. 24 Guardian Fleet vessels burst out of hyperspace, their crystal hulls blazing with weapon fire. Admiral Ryan Clark's voice came over the communication system. Danny, you magnificent fool. What did you think you were doing taking on an entire fleet by yourself? Danny grinned as he watched the Guardian fleet tear into the surprised Dominion ships. Just keeping them busy until you got here, sir. The battle that followed was swift and decisive. The Dominion ships had expected to face weak opposition, not an advanced fleet of crystal-enhanced human warships. Warlord Krex's forces were outgunned, outmaneuvered, and completely outfought. Within 30 minutes, half the Dominion fleet was destroyed, and the other half was in full retreat. Warlord Krex himself managed to escape, but his invasion had failed completely. As the smoke cleared, Admiral Clark contacted the Defiance. Damage report, Captain. Minor hull damage and some fried circuits, Danny replied. Nothing we can't fix. And casualties? Danny looked around his bridge at his young crew. They were all tired and shaken, but alive. None, sir. We got lucky. Admiral Clark's voice was full of pride. Danny, you held off 50 enemy ships for over an hour with a single vessel. That's not luck. That's skill and courage. Later, as the Guardian fleet helped repair the damage to Viridia Prime, Elder Vera visited the Defiance personally. She walked through the ship's corridors, touching the crystal walls that had protected Danny's crew. Captain Foster, she said when they met in his ready room, what you did today will become legend among our people. One human ship stood against an entire invasion fleet to protect strangers. Danny felt embarrassed by the praise. We were just doing our job, Elder Vera. No, she replied firmly. You were showing the galaxy what humans truly are. You are warriors who fight not for conquest or glory, but to protect those who cannot protect themselves. Word of the Battle of Viridia Prime spread quickly through the galactic community. The image of a single human ship standing against 50 enemy vessels became a symbol that every species in the galaxy recognized. Some saw it as inspiring proof that good could triumph over evil. Others saw it as a warning that humans were more dangerous than anyone had realized. But one thing was certain: nobody would underestimate the Guardian fleet again. The emergency session of the Global Council was the most important meeting in human history. Representatives from every nation on Earth sat in the great chamber, their faces serious as they watched the holographic display showing the Dominion fleet massing at the edge of known space. Senator Patricia Brooks from the North American Federation stood up first. She was a tall woman with gray hair and sharp eyes, known for her careful approach to dangerous situations. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, "we need to face reality. The intelligence reports are clear. Warlord Krex has returned with over 300 warships. The Guardian fleet has only 50 vessels. This is not a battle we can win." Murmurs of worry filled the chamber. The reports from Admiral Clark had been sobering. The Dominion swarm was one of the largest military forces in the galaxy, and they were coming for revenge after their defeat at Viridia Prime. General Matt Collins, head of Earth's military forces, stood up to respond. He was a stocky man with graying hair and scars from his years as a combat soldier. "Senator Brooks, I understand your concerns," he said in his deep voice. "But we gave our word to protect the Viridians. If we abandon them now, what does that say about humanity?" "It says we're smart enough to survive," Senator Brooks replied sharply. "General, I respect our commitment to the Viridians, but we cannot sacrifice human civilization for aliens we barely know." President Helen Martinez raised her hand for silence. As leader of the Global Council, she had the difficult job of making decisions that affected all of humanity. "Before we debate," she said calmly, "let's hear from our military experts. Admiral Sarah Wilson, what are our chances if we fight?" Admiral Wilson was Earth's top naval strategist. She had been studying the Dominion threat for weeks, and her expression was grim. "Madam President, if we send our entire space fleet to Viridia Prime, we might be able to hold off the Dominion attack, but we would lose most of our ships and thousands of lives. Earth itself would be left defenseless." Representative James Liu from the Asian Coalition leaned forward. "Admiral, what if we only send part of our fleet, keep some ships to defend Earth?" "Then the Viridians would be slaughtered," Admiral Wilson replied bluntly. "And the Dominion would still come for Earth eventually. Warlord Krex has made it clear that he sees humanity as a threat to his expansion plans." The debate continued for hours. Some representatives argued that Earth should focus on defending itself. Others insisted that humanity had a moral duty to protect their alien allies. Representative Carlos Mendez from South America stood up. "My friends, we are thinking about this wrong. This is not just about protecting the Viridians. This is about what kind of species we want to be. Do we keep our promises, or do we break them when things get difficult?" Senator Brooks shook her head. "Representative Mendez, this is about survival. If we lose our entire fleet fighting the Dominion, humanity could be wiped out. And if we abandon our allies," Mendez replied, "we might survive, but we would no longer be worthy of survival." During a break in the debate, a young voice asked to speak. Cadet Alex Turner was only 19 years old, fresh from the Space Academy. He was also the nephew of Captain Jake Morrison, the man who had started everything by saving Zix 3 years ago. President Martinez was surprised by the request. "Cadet Turner, this is a meeting for senior officials. What could you possibly have to add?" Alex stood up, his young face serious. Madam President, I want to tell you about my Uncle Jake. He wasn't a politician or a general. He was just a ship captain doing his job. But when he saw someone who needed help, he didn't think about the risks. He didn't worry about what it might cost. He just did what was right. The chamber was completely silent as Alex continued. My uncle saved one alien's life, and now we're debating whether to save an entire civilization. If Uncle Jake were here, I know what he would say. He would say that being human means helping others, even when it's dangerous. Senator Brooks looked uncomfortable. Cadet, your uncle's bravery is admirable, but this situation is far more complex than rescuing one injured alien. Is it? Alex asked simply. The Viridians trusted us to protect them. They gave us their technology, their friendship, everything they had. Now they're in danger, and we're thinking about running away. How is that complex? General Collins nodded approvingly. The boy is right. We made a commitment. Good soldiers keep their commitments, even when it's hard. Good soldiers also don't waste their lives in hopeless battles. Senator Brooks countered. Doctor. Kevin Walsh, who had returned from Viridia Prime to speak to the council, stood up. If I may, I'd like to share something. Yesterday I received a message from Elder Vera. She wanted me to tell you that if Earth decides not to fight, the Viridians will understand. They don't want humans to die for them. That's exactly my point, Senator Brooks said quickly. Even the Viridians don't expect us to commit suicide for them. Dr. Walsh held up his hand. I wasn't finished, Senator. Elder Vera also said that if we do choose to fight, every Viridian will remember human courage for the rest of their history. She said that true friendship is proven not when things are easy, but when they are impossible. The chamber fell silent again. Everyone understood what Dr. Walsh was saying. This wasn't just about military strategy or political calculations. This was about what kind of species humanity wanted to be. Representative Maria Santos from the African Union spoke up. My friends, I think we're asking the wrong question. We keep asking if we can win this fight. Maybe we should ask if we can live with ourselves if we don't fight. Admiral Wilson looked thoughtful. There is one thing we haven't considered. The Viridians have been working on new defensive technologies. If we combine their quantum crystal shields with our military tactics, we might have a better chance than the numbers suggest. General Collins leaned forward. What kind of defensive technologies? Planetary shield generators powered by quantum crystals, Dr. Walsh explained. The Viridians think they could protect their cities from orbital bombardment, but the shields need human courage to activate them. Senator Brooks looked confused. What does that mean, human courage to activate them? The Viridian technology responds to emotional energy, Dr. Walsh said. Their quantum crystals are somehow connected to living consciousness. The shields work best when operated by beings who are willing to sacrifice themselves for others. President Martinez stood up. So you're saying the Viridian shields only work if humans are willing to die defending them? That's exactly what I'm saying, Dr. Walsh confirmed. It's as if the universe itself rewards courage and self-sacrifice. The vote was closer than anyone expected. Nearly half the representatives wanted to recall the Guardian fleet and focus on defending Earth. But in the end, humanity chose to honor its commitment. Representative after representative stood up to explain their vote. Most spoke about honor, duty, and the importance of keeping promises. Some talked about their children and what kind of world they wanted to leave behind. When the final tally was announced, the decision was clear. Earth would send its entire space fleet to defend Viridia Prime, even though it meant leaving their home world vulnerable. President Martinez stood up as the vote concluded. Today, humanity has chosen courage over caution. We have chosen to honor our commitments, even when the cost might be everything we hold dear. Senator Brooks, who had voted against the deployment, stood up as well. Madam President, the vote is final. I pray that we have chosen wisely. If we have not, may history forgive us. Young Alex Turner was the last to speak. Madam President, my uncle always said that being human isn't about being the strongest or the smartest. It's about being willing to help others when they need it most. Today, humanity proved that Uncle Jake was right. As the representatives filed out of the chamber, orders were already being sent to Admiral Clark and the Guardian Fleet. Every human warship would be deployed to Viridia Prime within the week. Earth would be defended only by orbital platforms and civilian ships. For the first time in human history, the entire planet would be trusting its safety to the courage of its space fleet and the wisdom of its decision to protect others. The greatest test of human character was about to begin. Captain Jake Morrison walked slowly through the crystal gardens of Viridia Prime, his hair now white with age and his steps careful on the glowing pathways. 5 years had passed since the great battle, and the old explorer who had started everything was finally returning to see what his simple act of kindness had created. The memorial that the Viridians had built rose before him like a mountain made of light. It was carved from a single enormous quantum crystal, and it showed the image of a human hand reaching out to help a fallen Viridian. At the base, words were written in both human and Viridian languages. To the humans of Earth who chose courage over safety and friendship over fear, your protection gave us peace, your sacrifice gave us hope. Your example gave the galaxy a new way forward. Jake read the words with quiet amazement. He had saved one dying alien in the darkness of space, never imagining it would lead to this. "It's beautiful, isn't it?" came a familiar musical voice behind him. Jake turned to see Zix approaching, the same gentle Viridian he had rescued so many years ago. Zix looked exactly the same, since Viridians lived much longer than humans, but his eyes held a wisdom that came from watching his entire civilization be saved by human courage. "Zix, my old friend," Jake said with a smile, "I can't believe what's happened since we first met." "Nor can I," Zix replied, "but perhaps we should have expected it. Your people have always been remarkable." They walked together through the memorial garden, past statues honoring the human Marines who had powered the planetary shields and monuments to the space crews who had fought against impossible odds. "Jake," Zix said softly, "do you know how many species have asked for human protection since the Battle of Viridia Prime?" Jake shook his head. "I've been traveling for the past year. I haven't kept up with the news." 47 different civilizations," Zix replied. Peaceful peoples who were threatened by pirates, conquerors, or slavers. All of them heard about what humans did for us, and they wanted the same protection. Jake looked surprised. 47? How does Earth manage to protect so many worlds? They don't do it alone, Zix explained. The Viridian Human Alliance has grown into something much larger. We provide the technology, humans provide the military expertise, and our combined fleets protect anyone who asks for help. They reached the top of a crystal hill that overlooked the main city of Viridia Prime. In the harbor below, Jake could see ships from dozens of different worlds. The port had become a meeting place for peaceful species from across the galaxy. It's like a galactic United Nations, Jake murmured in wonder. Exactly, Zix agreed. And it all started because one human ship captain chose to help a stranger. Young voice called out behind them. Grandpa Jake! Jake turned to see a teenage girl running up the crystal pathway. It was Emma Morrison, his granddaughter, who had joined the Guardian Fleet Academy at age 16. Emma, Jake said happily, giving her a hug. I thought you were supposed to be in class. I am, Emma replied with a grin. Field studies on Viridian culture. When I heard you were visiting, I asked Zix if I could meet you here. Jake looked at his granddaughter with pride. She wore the blue uniform of the Guardian Fleet Academy, and her young face already showed the confidence of someone who knew she was part of something important. Tell me about the academy, Jake said. What are they teaching you? Emma's eyes lit up. Everything, Grandpa. Military tactics, Viridian technology, alien cultures, diplomatic protocol, but most importantly, they teach us what it means to be guardians. And what does it mean? Jake asked, though he suspected he knew the answer. It means we protect those who cannot protect themselves, Emma replied seriously. It means we keep our promises, even when it's dangerous. It means we choose courage over fear, every single time. Zix listened to Emma with approval. Your granddaughter will make an excellent guardian, Jake. She has the same spirit that made you help a dying stranger. They spent the afternoon touring the expanded city of Viridia Prime. Jake was amazed by what he saw. The crystal spires now reached even higher into the sky, powered by human engineering techniques. Gardens from 40 different worlds grew side by side, tended by beings who had once been strangers to each other. In the port, massive ships from the Guardian Fleet loaded supplies for protective missions to distant worlds. Jake recognized the designs as advanced versions of the Unity vessels that had won the Great Battle. Admiral Clark sends his regards, Zix told Jake as they watched the ships. He wanted you to know that the Guardian Fleet now has over 300 vessels, all built with combined human and Viridian technology. 300 ships. Jake repeated slowly. When I saved you, I had one small exploration vessel. And now humanity leads the largest peacekeeping force in galactic history, Zix replied. The Dominion swarm still exists, but they avoid systems under Guardian Fleet protection. Pirates and slavers think twice before attacking innocent worlds. The galaxy is more peaceful than it has been in centuries. That evening, the Viridians held a ceremony in Jake's honor. The great hall was filled with beings from dozens of worlds, all of them free because of human protection. Jake felt overwhelmed by the sight. Elder Vera, now ancient even by Viridian standards, spoke to the crowd. Today we honor Captain Jake Morrison, whose single act of kindness changed the course of galactic history. He reminds us that the smallest choice can have the greatest consequences. When it was Jake's turn to speak, he stood before the crowd feeling humbled by their attention. These beings had traveled from across the galaxy to honor him, but he still saw himself as just a ship captain who had done the right thing. "Friends," Jake began, "I didn't save Zix because I thought it would change the galaxy. I saved him because he needed help, and I could provide it. That's all any of us can do, help when we can." He paused, looking at all the different faces in the crowd. "But I've learned something from watching what happened after that day. Small acts of kindness don't stay small. They grow and spread and inspire others to be kind as well. Today, human ships protect peaceful worlds because one alien showed trust in human nature." The crowd listened in respectful silence as Jake continued. "I'm proud of what humanity has become. We're not the strongest species in the galaxy or the smartest or the most advanced, but we're the ones who help others when they need it. We're the ones who keep our promises, and that's something worth being proud of." The ceremony ended with beings from 40 different worlds pledging their continued support for the Guardian Alliance. Each species promised to contribute their unique abilities to the cause of protecting innocent life throughout the galaxy. Later, as Jake prepared to leave Viridia Prime, Zix walked with him to the spaceport. "Where will you go now, my friend?" Jake smiled. "Back to exploring. There are still new worlds to discover, new species to meet. And who knows? Maybe I'll find someone else who needs help." "I'm sure you will," Zix replied. "And when you do, I know you'll do the right thing." As Jake's ship lifted off from Viridia Prime, he looked back at the crystal world one last time. The planet glowed with the light of peace and prosperity. Protected by the strongest fleet in the galaxy and surrounded by friends from across the stars. In the years that followed, the Guardian Alliance continued to grow. More species joined. The peaceful coalition, contributing their knowledge and resources to the protection of innocent life. Human ships patrolled trade routes, keeping them safe from pirates. Viridian technology healed the wounded and fed the hungry.